Okay, so we get a. I don't know if it's counting from 3 hours up or down. I don't know what that's about. So okay, it's a six of spades week. It is between the 4th through the 10th. The what is that? The five of spades was the week before that. So we 27th or 28th through the 3rd would have been the five of spades week. Um, Five of spades week for me was kind of crazy. I have to
Yeah.
say, it was.
Listen.
It wasn't a complete disaster. I don't know if I'm echoing because of you and me, but it wasn't a complete disaster. But my car broke down.
Oh, wow.
And if you know about the three of diamonds, let me see if I can bring up our charts. I am actually at our shipping location store. So um, I don't know if you can. My Wi-Fi and everything is kind of new. Actually, that's the reason. One of the main reasons that we was late. Also, um, and we just shut down because I was trying to get on this particular Wi-Fi and it was hindering me. So everything was kind of slow. So be mindful if you don't mind.
Six of spades.
Hopefully that you have a connection, right? Six of spades. And what's crazy is the internet connection here is slow. It's super slow. I don't know what it is. Yeah. Do you have another device recording or playing?
Mm-mm, I don't know.
No. It kind of sounds like. Is it on the speaker? Like,
I'm on my phone. I had it up
um,
against my computer. Maybe that's it.
okay, yeah, yeah. All right, now it's not echoing no more. All
Oh,
right, that
okay.
sounds better. Yeah. So if you know about the three of diamonds, I actually have the sixes, the five of spades as my Jupiter card for life. So that's why it was kind of interesting for me. It did kind of, I did learn something. It was my alternator, but actually, I should have gotten it fixed a long time ago, actually. And if anybody remember, before we left out of here last week, we kind of spoke to the five of spades. And was it in Pluto for that week or something? What was it?
I don't remember.
Don't remember. Is J Lo here? Who's here? We like I always call her J Lo. Like I know she knows the weeks, but I believe the five of spades was in Pluto for that week. But also, what's in for why it kind of relates to me, I actually have the five of spades and Mercury for myself for my age as well. So that is short travel as well. Or and when it comes to the five of spades, we talk about it being disruptions or interruptions, kind of related to earthquakes and those things. And was that the week of the election? Whether it was as well?
No, the election was in this week, Rashad.
It was.
It was Tuesday.
What Tuesday? Are you serious? It was.
Yes.
Oh wow.
And
This week?
we talked about the when she was first nominated. I think you and I did. We one of the weeks that we found out, we looked at the United States spread, and I don't know why people are so shocked that she wasn't elected because she was the Mercury card, and we both said like there's no longevity with Mercury.
Mm-hmm.
It's a quick. She came in quick. Big hoopla about her coming in. A lot of spotlight, and then you kind of notice she kind of fizzled out a little bit, and she towards the end popped back up, and with him being the Neptune card, you could kind of tell like that like going to save, the savior, save the country. So it played out the way the card showed. Now, obviously things can change. We have until January before he actually takes office. I have, seen some people say like, something may be happening with the King of Hearts and where she would then take place until the January thing. So who knows what kind of shenanigans they have up their sleeve? But I could, could tell I didn't. It's based on the United States spread. With her being the Mercury card, I was like, I don't see it sticking. I didn't think she would get the election because of it. So That's just how I saw it. I never made any prediction. I didn't go out and put anything out there because I was just keeping that. But I remember you and I talked about that. You were like, "Yeah, that's Mercury." I was like, "Yeah, I don't know about that."
Yeah, yeah,
So
most definitely. Um, J-Lo, do you know which age spread the United States on? We're talking her like she's here. We might as well just add it up here. Right?
68 for the year, but I don't know the week.
68 for the year? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, I know
Let's
that.
take a look at it. But yeah, that's the thing about Mercury. It changes travel, you know. Um,
Yeah,
and like you said, it has no real longevity, or something that kind of passes over. Isn't it can be on your mind. It can be talked about, of course, right? So she is the main topic of kind of what happened, and she is. You can't really blame her, I guess. You have to blame the people that ran the campaign and not understanding what was needed. Because as Black people, I actually did advocate for her and for people to vote for her, only because they was going to blame the Black man anyways. But but no, I ain't gonna say that. But me personally, I don't trust politics anyways, right?
right.
So by default, when my mother tell me to do something, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna listen, right? Just because that's what you do within the culture. Um, and I seen how um, passionate people were about this particular election. And kind of like with Obama, you have hope. We have things that we want to see, things that we want to happen, you know. But that's also why we're here as well, to understand the metaphysical and the spiritual side of things as well. I seen someone say, and then you got people talking about um, Donald Trump was God's will. I mean, can you not deny time sometimes? You know, I had a real hard time. One of my spiritual teachers, as we know, Nina, one thing that I always had a problem with was her saying that Black people suffered during slavery because of the mishaps and things that we may have caused due to ourselves. I had a really, really, really hard time swallowing that pill of slavery was out of the will of a higher power and a higher source. And the Six of Spades kind of teaches you that as well. Take responsibility of your own actions. Am I still here or am I
You're
just talking?
no, you're. I can hear you, but you're froze.
Okay.
Your face is froze, but I can hear you.
Okay. And the Six of Spades kind of teaches you that is take responsibility of your own actions. And the spades are judgery as well. You know, during this time period, I think, like you said, the spades are ambitious. They have a lot of willpower, and I think it is like a will of God that comes and interacts with that energy. You know, it's in Neptune, so you have all of these purposeful emotions and something in leading with a mission, right? So there's a mission that is attached to that card, and the Herald mission. But the Six of Spades is also an awakening, taking responsibility of your actions and other things that you're doing. And if things don't go your way, what happens a lot of times is that we give up. We don't try. It can be. I always say the nine of spades is a Debbie Downer, but we have to. I mean, the nine of diamonds is a Debbie Downer. What in the world? Oh my gosh!
Who Rashad? I know, right? J Lo, his face, the way his face is like.
Oh, you can still see me. You can still hear me.
Now I can't. You're gone now. You're completely gone. So, but yes, that was really funny. But yeah, to kind of piggyback off what Rashad is saying, Six of Spades is a very strong card of accountability. You get what you put out. Um, Interestingly enough, kind of what you're just talking about that I was telling Rashad before we came live. Why I was a little late was I was talking to my oldest. She's on a bus back from North Carolina from the games tournament they had this weekend, and she's really upset because, she didn't play much. They barely put her in, and so I had to kind of really explain to her, like, think about, she's a freshman in college. Freshmen don't get much playing time typically. And so it's kind of like she started over when she was in high school, where she was the freshman on the JV team and had never played before and barely got on the court. But then she moved up. It took time. She got to varsity and got to play a little bit more. So I just told her, I was like, it's the first of the season. I mean, she was having a whole panic attack, very upset. That ace of spades, like, like wanting to quit, wanting to give up. And I was like, no, we don't quit. And it's just it's the beginning of the season. There's so many more games to play. Like, you got to keep going. And, that's the thing with the six of spades. You got to keep going, keep working, keep trying. It's going to pay off. Right. So that's kind of what we all have probably seen this week with the six of spades week is, our effort. And I think that's why she is so upset is like, she's in the gym, she keeps up with her grades. Like, she's doing what she's supposed to do. And she does is like, if I don't understand, if I'm not going to play, why am I here? Yeah, exactly. And, and again, she's the only freshman on the team. And there were other girls who actually didn't touch the court at all. I don't know what they are, if they're seniors or juniors or sophomores, but they didn't touch the court at all for these two games in this tournament. And we'll see, with that ace of spades, that drive and that ambition and that desire to want to play and get out there. Like, she loves it. She loves the game. And so she was very, very frustrated that she didn't get to play. And she's FaceTiming me in the bus, and I was just trying to just let her know, like, we don't quit, keep consistent, keep going. Don't give up, and kind of remember when you started, because think about it too, last year she was the top dog. She was a senior. She never came off the court for the game. She played every single game, the whole game. And now it's a completely different, space, because she's not the top dog anymore. She's not playing like she was, because she's a freshman. So it's taking some time to get adjusted. I was just saying, Rashad, when you were talking about that six of spades, like the consistency, the not giving up. And I was sharing how I was talking to my daughter before we got on here, with her wanting to give up and come home and quit because she didn't get to play, So I told her, your time is coming. That hard work, your dedication is going to pay off. Don't give up, That's kind of what you're speaking about with the six of spades. Can't hear you now. No, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so like you said, giving up. I was going to read something from the Six of Spades. For those unaware of tremendous potentialities in the card, there's a drift towards discouragement, labor, monotony, and lack of initiative. They have no vision and no hope. They are aware of material benefits, which they fail to acquire. The laziness of the six takes hold and helps them drift and let providence provide for me. Philosophy fails them as it must, and they make no contribution whatever to the lives of others or their own. That was a highlight this week that was crazy of a basketball player. And teammate was doing great, awesome, like lighting it up. But every time his teammate scored, he became like his lackadaisical, like he became like sad. He was like angry for some reason. And it was like, why would you put yourself in a state of mind to not cheer your teammate on based upon what you're not benefiting from at this particular moment? You
Yeah.
know? So he let his mind, the first thing that happens at that moment is your mind is going corrupted, and you start to think negative based upon the situation that you're in, and without any type of initiative of trying to help do better or whatever it may be. I'm a three of diamonds, ace of spades. I've been to college before, and I've came out of college being the star of the team, and one of the best players on the team. And then you go to college and you figure out, I mean, you may not be average, but it's a whole different ball game.
And that's
And
what
you,
I told her. I said,
Sure.
your work and your dedication is what got you there. Just because you didn't get to play as much this, I mean, when I say Rashad, she barely got a minute for the 2 games. Like, she barely was in. It's devastating for her. When she's, again, coming off a senior year in high school where she never came out of the game, played the whole game, right? So now barely getting into the game is very like a disappointment. And she went right into the spiraling of, I want to quit. I want to come home. I hate it. That instant, like, dead it all, everything. And I'm like,
Mhm.
it's okay. But I rightfully so, I wanted to validate. I understand your frustration. I understand you're upset. I can't even be mad about it because you have so much heart in this game. All you want to do is play just like everybody else. And it is disappointing. And I told her, I said, get it out, release it, cry the whole bus ride home. And then tomorrow is a new day. And you got 2 more games this week. You never know, you might get into them, but you've got to, like, don't let it. I said, yes, it's okay to feel this, but you don't got to stay in those feelings forever because you got to move on. You got to, like, so I told her, when you get back, if it's not too late and you want to talk, call me back. Literally just sitting there staring at her sob the whole way, on the bus, because she's so upset. And I feel for her, and I rightfully so. I'd be frustrated too. I'm not a very patient person either. So we're all like, just be patient. You'll get in the game. And over here, I'm
Mhm.
like, I know I'd be pissed too, but rightfully so. But don't let it, like, affect you, because she can very much, like, set the whole bus on fire with her thoughts. So don't do that.
And especially with the six of spades week, and just the energy, you know, that I don't know her personal cards or personal weekly, but we
I
always talk
look.
about this
I
is a
try not to
depressing
look at
time.
her cards when she plays because I don't want to put myself into, like, a place of, like,
Worry. I mean, I couldn't resist probably
I
as a
probably will
parent.
now that it's over. But, like, because there's those times where she hurt herself and she had the jack. So if I see, like, the jack of spades in her spread, I'm gonna panic. So I'm like, no. But um, I'll look now. Actually, I'll look and see what her
Mhm.
cards were.
Well,
But
hello,
yeah, it's
Madeline.
sad. It's sad for her. I feel bad for her, but I told her it's part of protocol. You're a freshman. Freshmen don't get to play as much. You kind of starting down at the bottom again. You is gotta, again, work your way like you did in high school, and that's how you got to where you are. And think, just in next year, or even by the middle of this season, you might be playing more minutes.
Mhm.
Don't give up so easily. She ready to call quits.
Mhm. Hey, hello, Madeline. How are you doing?
Hi guys.
Oh, hi.
Okay. Hi. Um, we have these like rainbow lights in all the room, and I don't know what color the light's gonna be when I turn it on. So today it was good. So but they're fun. I totally hear what you guys are saying, and I have a couple like resonates around like six of spades. There was one that I was working with that left the place I work, and she notoriously did not really think it ever was about her. It was always about the other person, and she took so little accountability, and she moved like nothing. Like she didn't move. Like she didn't let herself grow in the experience. Like she held herself so tight in that fight. So I really was reminded and making a speech for another girl's graduating, but not, in the way she graduated. She's doing the proper, like the intended graduation, whereas the other didn't do the work to do it, but it was everyone else's fault that it didn't happen. And to say that, why is it that we're not excited for the girl who is standing there as inspiration, right? Because for the longest time, like even with your daughter there, she was the inspiration, she was the magic, she was the everything, right? So then why is it hard sometimes for us to celebrate when someone else is in that spot? Because that
Right.
still means it's us.
Hmm.
Yep.
No, yeah, for
And
sure.
that's a maturity thing, but you know what I'm saying.
Like, they won. they
Yeah.
won. I'm like, I said, try to find the good in the
Yeah, how many
situation.
girls sat on the bench when she was playing all those times and all that
Right.
extra stuff? How many people watched her take front and center over and over, you know? So it's like that's the humility of recognizing that I'm you and you're me. And so if it's happening to you, like Gina, you've done so many amazing things since we became friends and what you've done. And I love it. I'm inspired by it. You know, it motivates me. I hear your little voice in my head sometimes, you know? So it's not like I'm against it, Rashad. Like, you know, I'm all about like, oh, go Rashad, everything you want to be. Can't wait to see. You know, like it's great. So it's a really weird thing for me how easily we fall into that. Possibly because for me, I'm trying so consciously to like make sure everybody's okay and blah 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 shit. But it's like, well, why isn't it exciting that that girl's graduating? Because it's really weird how most of the girls will cry in graduations because it's not them. And I'm like, what? Like you're not even going to celebrate that the other girl did her work and she's inspiring you with her work. You're not going to stand in that. You're going to throw mud at it and push yourself down. I don't think we're going to grow very cool doing that.
Never, yeah. And just to recap, this is a Six of Spades week for those who may be new, not understanding what's taking place, or not understanding the cards. So this is the science of cardology, where we study the energy of the week and the lesson of the week. So we take universal concepts, things that happen to the public, and relate them back to the card as far as teaching points or within connections of the lessons that we all can learn. You know, and sometimes we take our personal lives right here at the card table. So, what do you bring to the table? You know, we bring you our lives. So, yes. So the Six of Spades. Another thing from a script from the sacred symbols, they are strictly just and may seem hard and unfeeling, without no emotion. They are tried and tested. If they are beaten down, it is only to rise again and try harder. They are strong of will and determined, often fixed and stubborn. They know there is no death, only eternal life. This they come to prove. They belong to the initiates. Um,
That same girl I was talking about, so resilient, came back after so many falls, so strong, and actually came in with some of the sweetest things I'd ever heard from a girl, thanking me so much for what she learned and acknowledging that she has those traits and she's trying to figure it out. But she's, you know, only 14. You know what I'm saying? So she's like, so I think that's so true. And I'm glad to have it balanced that way because there's a strength and a knowing and a faith inside of them that gives them resilience as well. So, I mean, because you're going to have Six of Spades in your life, you're going to live that card. And it's like, you have to recognize that these are just going to be the aspects that you navigate for that time, but you get to choose each time. You know, you get to choose like, oh, wow, am I being stubborn? Like, hold on, let me take a breath, especially when you know, oh, I'm really stubborn.
yeah, and actually, it also says the Mars Neptune conjunction in true place is called to action in the realm of idealism. If we choose to turn into action for self-interest, bubble chasing, and schemes to get rich, we have no one to blame but ourselves for inevitable descent into confusion and final disaster. The number 9 is the most beautiful and protected number in the cycle because we have chosen distorted plan. 9 always means disappointment or futility when it appears in the mundane. And God's plan, it is fulfillment for the sixes. The displaced 9 means fulfillment of purpose and the mission, universal love, brotherhood, unfailing goodwill, and there can be no disappointments. So taking responsibility, apologizing and being aware, of the lessons and things that people bring you, I think is important. But when you get trapped, like we say in the nines, into disappointment, you become unaware, and it can almost be, death of the ego is what's going to have to happen.
Well, Rashad, guess what her cards are today? Like it's her Mars day, and she's got 3 hearts. She's got the Ace of Hearts and the 7 of Hearts supporting it. And then in the planetary ruling spread, she got the 9 of Hearts and the 7 of Diamonds.
She feels. I wouldn't say she feels betrayed, but 7 of Hearts is
She
very
does.
competitive.
She does. I guarantee you she does. I already know because she's like, I should have went to a different, stayed at the other offer. Like, that's how she feels, like betrayed, that she, made the wrong decision. I'm like, no.
And people promised her things that
Yep.
and it wasn't given.
Yep. Yep. And that ace of hearts, her ego, that's a big part of it for her, is like it's just more of her, she just wants it's the passion of playing and the competitiveness that she has. And it wasn't just her that didn't get any playing time. So there's that, wasn't she was not the only one that didn't touch the court that much. So, and I told her, it's not a reflection of you, your skill, you're dedicated. I was like, it's kind of the protocol of you being a freshman and, having to kind of work your way to that spot again. You're not going to come and play 40 minutes at each game as a freshman. That's just not how it works typically. So, ride it out, trying to get her to calm down. And but like I told her, rightfully, I understand your mouth. I would be probably just as upset as you are. Just, again, don't stay there for long. Get it out of your system. Move. Go tomorrow's another day. Can't go back to those games. You only have the games that are coming. So, but yeah, that's wild. That's what her cards are.
And being idealistic is only good in theory, to be idealistic of what's taking place, but you got to be practical, pragmatic, and try to work towards solutions to get you out of the situation that you're in, without being practical or looking at the situation for what it is. You're just going to be stuck in this place of what you think it should be or how you think it should go, without no real solutions or answers. I think that's what happened to the Democratic Party. But I think they had no real solutions, and they was, very idealistic of how to fix the problem.
And look where she's sitting, the Queen of Hearts house, Neptune. I mean, like, that's why I'm like, I don't know. Again, I saw it that, again, just based off of her placement being the Mercury card for the United States, I just was like, I don't think that's going to pan out for her, and that's kind of what happened.
And look at where the United States is also.
6 of
We're at
spades.
68. 6 of spades, 9 of spades. And the election was during the 6 of spades week. A lot of disappointment.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people was disappointed. And what came out of everybody's mouth was Kamala. And they want to see her, head of state at this particular moment. And we knew they was going to push her towards it, which I don't see why they didn't earlier, to be honest. They was going to pick her to be their candidate for that position. But
to be honest with you, again, kind of the Mercury energy, it wasn't long. It didn't have, again, enough behind it, enough time behind it. She was named as the candidate in July, August. So when he got out of the race, that's not enough. These people campaign for years. She campaigned for 3 months. It really wasn't kind of like fair to her. I'm not really one to say fair or not fair, but it wasn't. And again, the cards don't lie. That's what Mercury is. Fast paced, doesn't stick around long. It goes and comes, right? Like, how did that not scream to most people? I don't understand. But hey,
social gatherings and parties, entertainment. She played
and
the entertainment card.
Look what she did. Her shows were concerts.
You mean her rallies?
Screaming, like if there was like a banner, like when you go to the beach and they have like one of those banners that goes across. Like, what do you think the essence of what she was screaming would be?
Who, Kamala?
Kamala's message was like, because I mean, I hear you. It's like she's paving, right? Like she pretty much laid the groundwork for women coming into balance of power with men, but in this Mad Magazine, election game that we play, right? But she really did pull together a whole bunch of women and a bunch of things, but she did it in a very flashy way.
Yeah.
So I just wonder, what's her message? I mean, maybe she's just flashy. Maybe that's just her way. Do you know what I mean? I don't really know. But I know a lot of people got excited about who she was. Well, she
it wasn't her. That's why I said you can't blame her. It was the people behind her that were
okay.
looking to get celebrities insight. There was a lady named Teslin Figueroa who's around political activism and helping campaigns. You know, she's a campaign activist as far as helping presidential campaigns. She was behind Bernie Sanders, and she herself, just not too long ago, was talking about where did the money go for the campaign. It went into the theatrics. You know, it went into the entertainment part. Of course, she sat down with prominent entertainers and people of the, of journalism, but what was her message? Women's rights. She spoke to women's and the rights of women's. That's everyone's point of argument was women's right. Of course, she also talked about she was going to give 1 million loans to black men late in the party, very late into the party. She started speaking about that. I think that came after the criticism of everything else she was doing. And so there was this feminist movement behind her, which we want to all be in a, like I said, be an idealistic universe. But James Brown told you it's a man's world. And that's not because I want it to be. It is what it is, right? Um,
I think we're setting the stage to have a woman in the presidency in some form of power, but it just wasn't the even with the Queen of Diamonds, Jupiter. But what's really fascinating about both of them is her, and this this is the United States spread. She's displacing the Queen of Hearts, the Two of Clubs is, and the Three of Diamonds, his card was displacing the Queen of Clubs. So they're both sitting in the House of Queen, right? What's interesting, one transforms into the Six of Diamonds, the other one was transforming into the Seven of Diamonds. It's just wild how similar the similarities are. His reward card, and this is based on the United States spread, was the King of Hearts. You kind of see that, like he's, again, sitting in Neptune, the reward card being the King of Hearts is coming off as I'm saving the country. And it's kind of how he ran this. I'm save, make it healthy again, or whatever they're saying now,
Make it great again. Make
yeah,
America
make it
great
great again,
again.
whatever they're saying it was or is. So you can see that energy is even there via the spread of the United States. I haven't even looked at their personal spreads. I know he's displacing the Nine of Spades personally for him. And I think she's in the house of the Six of Clubs, if I remember correctly, but I don't remember correctly. But but yeah, with him being Neptune and her being Mercury, I knew I just have Mercury from, it doesn't have longevity, she wasn't, you know, now whether or not she steps into power prior to January 2020th, that's still kind of, I could probably
Possible.
see something possibly happening to push that.
Yeah, but like you said, it may not last long.
Right.
But at 60, let's look at her age spread at 60. I believe I looked at it briefly. I talked about the Four of Diamonds a lot. Um, I believe during the four of Diamonds week, I actually talked about her spread. I went to a very um,
Was she 60,
late
right?
into the Four of Diamonds week. Yeah, she's 60 now.
So she's displaced, right? She's displacing the Four of Diamonds. That's right.
Yeah, and I talked about the Four Diamonds building a same, without solid values, you building a campaign or your values is based upon fluff and a sandcastle. They can rely on their beauty, rely on their, likability, but then you realize what you've built, everything that you wanted is based upon something that doesn't really stand on nothing. It
Yeah.
can erode over time, and it's like a sandcastle and it just get washed away. So I spoke about that during that particular, I didn't even state it, that's what it was. Like I said, when we talk about energy, we try to talk about all aspects just so you can understand what's taking place or every possibility of what's happening at this particular time. Because what happens in Venus, Neptune, you can be very idealistic, your morals, values, and everything that you can stand on. I wouldn't be it can be selfish, but like I said, it can be based on idealism and have no type of practical stance, and people was confused as well, right, about what was going to take place, what was happening, and I also spoke about the Nine of Diamonds.
That's what I'm over here looking at. Like that's right there. That's in Saturn for her. Like that in itself would say she's gonna. There's something losing or ending, but the King of Spades will be the Pluto because anybody who displaces the Four of Diamonds will have the King of Spades and Pluto, and the reward is the Jack of Diamonds.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Yeah.
why there's still that like that can kind of I can see why people would look at her spread and be like she could be the like she wasn't elected, right? I didn't think she was going to win the election based on the fact that she was in Mercury for the United States. That's all I needed to see. I looked at that and was like, I don't think she's going to be elected because again, Mercury doesn't have a lot of staying power. But now looking at her spread, they're made because she just turned 60. She's in her Mercury 52. She got the Four of Spades. Interestingly enough, what's challenging it? The Six of Spades. That was a little challenging week for her this week, huh? But the fact that she has that Jack of Diamonds as the reward card for her year, that I could see why people might be like, because it's United States card, you win the United States. So I could see why people may have looked at that and instantly thought, but you got to look at the whole, that's one thing you have to be able to do is look at the whole picture, synthesize the whole plate, not even just the spread you're looking at. Like, look, the Four of Diamonds that she's displacing is also in the sun for her, in that year too. So you have to look at the whole plate. It's telling a whole story. So
yeah, I mean, if looking at this, I probably would have said she has a good chance and possibility. But if you was to read what the Four of Diamonds says, when something says it was based, when I seen it can be based up, they can rely on their beauty. And I know that a lot of her campaign was just based upon her being a woman.
yeah.
And that
They
would have
thought
been
that
the
would be
first
enough.
kind of clue. Yeah.
And I think they thought that would be enough. And that's all. And that's kind of why. And let's be real. The men, I don't know that I'm not saying that men wouldn't want a woman as a presidency, but I think the men that are very with that old mindset would have a hard time with that.
Yeah.
Bless
It's the awakening hour.
Yeah.
So we have to be very practical. This is based upon duality.
Yeah.
That has to be duality within the universe. Yeah, you can be a feminist, but let's be real. There's men and women at the head of the household. So the women, Caucasian women, white women in this race, they voted with their men. Black men voted with their women as well. But when you're only speaking to Black men and Black women, it can be, maybe a little challenging.
But they're
I
not, and
do
that's
think there
and if
was.
you're looking at it from a numbers point of view too, Rashad, there's not as the numbers are different, big difference in how many, the population, right? So there's only so many percentage of Black people in this country and so many percentage of white people in this country. If you're only catering to one demographic that doesn't have the majority, you kind of need it to be a little bit broader than just. I don't think though that there were a lot of people, but from all different walks of life, at least from my social media aspect, that were for her. There weren't. I found it to be more for her than for him, just based on, I guess, maybe my algorithm, or whatever it's showing
No,
me.
I thought it was popular. I think she would have won the popular vote, but I don't think that the popular vote was going to get her the win, to be
Yeah.
honest. I didn't think as far as the electoral college, they were going to vote for her, to be honest. I did think that she would have won the popular vote, but I never thought she was going to win the electoral college, to be honest.
Yeah.
That was just my opinion. And like you said, there was a little split, and a lot of people did drop off late because of the bigotry and the things that he was saying. People felt uncomfortable. Totally understanding. But for me, I don't know if there was ever a president that wasn't racist. So for me,
Right.
I know politics is normal behavior, and it's not nothing that I think that was going to sway people who's in power away from voting from him. They wasn't worried about that because I've been in corporate world since I graduated college almost. I don't think there's a job that I've or a company I work for that wasn't racist. It's not a company I work for where I didn't have something that happened that was a little bit racist, even from our own people, what we call classism these days. That's the new racism is classism. So, but yeah, you have to cater to everyone, and she catered to the people that own corporate, and Trump catered to the people that own the corporations. And when I say it's a man's world, is because
Yeah.
corporations are owned by men.
Hmm.
That's why I say that. It's not because I want it to be like that, or I feel like it's
Right.
always going to be like that. Who has the money? Who has the wealth? Who are at head of corporations?
Right.
We have to be very realistic about that.
Yeah. Yeah. You're listen. I've worked in, obviously I've been home these last few years, but when I was out in the public and working in restaurants and hospitality, I worked at a country club in North Atlanta, and I'm talking old wealth, old white wealth at that. And the things that I would see, and the way that the members would speak to the help, oh my God. But they pay to be there, and nobody
Mhm.
did anything about it because they paid hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to be able to come to this country club. They're going to talk to
Mhm.
the staff however they want.
However they
I was
want to.
floored. I was like, they said what to you? Oh yeah, they call us this, that. And I'm like, what? That's wild. Hold on, there's someone at my door. It's my neighbor. Hold on.
No, you good. You good. Yeah, I'm never surprised. Actually, I'm kind of excited. I'm kind of glad that people are waking up and understanding the environment that we live in, because I can't believe people are surprised, to be honest. The jokes that I've heard behind closed doors, and not even just about black people, anybody, like women, like Trump he's not the first archetype of that type of person that I've seen in leadership. You know, it's not that wasn't a foreign. He's not a foreign concept of what runs the world and what runs the economy. But yeah, so it's just who were the you we were talking about who was she speaking to? What was her campaign, and kind of where did people see the faults? I guess you can say, and it's an awakening. The Six of Spades is the awakening to the truth. You think? And I think Bernie Sanders also said, if you ever thought that the Democratic Party was for the betterment of the working class, you're crazy.
Well, I definitely agree that there was like a we're gonna look like the good guys, but not really be the good guys kind of game going on. And as far as like racism goes, it's such a charged thing, right? Because like if everyone was just kind of able to speak openly about the differences and not feel like they're qualifying a good or bad, right? Because it's like you look different than me, you are different from me, but it doesn't mean you're good or I'm bad or vice versa. So it's the derogatory nature of racism. And I think we've split ourselves around that stuff the same way we did like when women oppress other women or people of color oppress other people of color. Like I believe we create those types of dynamics because we grow bias and energy and righteousness in those areas. I think it's a really charged area, racism, because if it's a soul game and if we're on life paths living different lifetimes, I mean, maybe we've all been every color and done everything.
Mm. I
Maybe
mean,
there's,
it's yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I just wonder why it stays so alive and like with a bad thing. Like it's like, I mean, I'm going to treat certain plants different than other plants because they're different.
Mhm. Because
It's
there's
not.
no, like, the Six of Spades is based upon universal brotherhood, no selfishness
Mhm,
within the acts of mankind, and
mhm,
everybody have this
mhm.
ideal. I won't say idealistic point of view, but that is being idealistic on the good side of wanting the betterment of all. But unfortunately, everyone isn't like that. And when you've had 500 years of training and having and being of power, no one wants to let that go very easily.
Right.
Like, it is
Totally.
not given away just
So you're
because.
saying there's a power in the ability to use racism or tone or ignore somebody based on something. You're saying that that's a use of power that people are doing that with.
No, it is what it is. It's an action. Racism isn't just a word; it's an action. It's what you're doing. It's what you allow, what you don't allow. It is people that are in charge and who doesn't want to let go of that power. You know, it's an action. It's not just a word or
You're
bigotry.
calling, you said it was an action and it's not power, but then you keep referring to it as people using their power that way. So meaning like when they're in position on a podium running for president, they're making remarks about racism.
No, I say that I say this. It's not just words. It's a play of power. So the power is
Oh,
what you
play
do.
of
Is that
power. Okay, I
yeah,
get it.
yeah, it's what you're doing. Is I'm not letting go of this position. I've only been while I've been. Let me make sure. I think in the corporate world, all of the people that were over me or at the head of almost usually at the head of the company or head of the department was white people. I've never had a black person that was in power or in charge, maybe as a manager, but as far as like a supervisor and things higher, you start to get slim as far as black people being in power. It is what it is. Racism is an action and it's what people do. And people don't want to let go of that power. And we should be on a universal brotherhood. These things are supposed to come up. Jack of Diamonds is displacing the nine of spades. Donald Trump is displacing the nine of spades. I mean, yeah, Trump is displacing the nine of spades, and Jack of Diamonds is displacing the six of spades. So both of those are about universal brotherhood, universal power. So the criticism of those things and what's taking place, it holds true to what's supposed to happen. We should be thinking about why isn't everything based upon the good of all or the good of man? We're supposed to be having these conversations. There's nothing wrong with that. But is it happening? No. Let's be real. That is not what's going on. How do we get there? That's where we have to come with solutions. And unfortunately, the solution is someone has to compromise. Someone has to let go of power. Someone has to think about the betterment of everyone and of all. And Bernie Sanders just stated that the Democratic Party isn't for the working class. And right now, it's not just black or white either. People don't even realize it's classism. It's based upon where you are economically as well. I look at water like simply, just water, common water. You know, city water, well water. What's the difference? Why would they put deadly chemicals in your water? Are they thinking about your livelihood? Are
Right.
they thinking
No,
about
they're doing it to make more money. That's what
right
everything's about is the money.
the
Because
money?
if they poison your water, they make you sick, which gets you back to the doctor, which feeds their, the machine.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, it's interesting. My daughter, when she was younger, she had an incident, and it's just, I mean, we've just being out with them at times, you could see it. I remember telling my friends that couldn't relate to it. I'm like, take my kids to the mall and just walk around with them, hold their hand actually, and see what happens. Just do it and see what happens. And you're white, you know what I mean? So
It's
imagine
a very
if you
different
weren't white.
experience. Yeah.
Imagine if you weren't white. And my daughter was walking into Sally's hair supply store. And she used to drive me crazy. She would hold the money in her hand. I'm like, stop doing that. But she had them, and she got followed in the store. The lady followed her. She came out the store hysterically crying. Mom, the lady followed me. It was really embarrassing. It made me feel like I was a criminal. And, you know, unfortunately, it's what based on my kid does not steal. She never stole a dang thing in her life. You know what I mean? But that was the impression that this person had just based on her appearance. And that's a big problem. You know, that is a big problem. And that's still embedded in so many people. And you can easily tell what, you know, comes from, like, if you watch the news, which I don't watch the news, but when I did used to watch the news, a lot of the reports were, you know, minority crime, but statistically there are more non-minority people in this country that are committing just as much or even worse crime. But what gets reported, what gets shown, whose mugshots get shown, are minority people to instill this fear. When a woman walks by a person that's not a white man, she clenches her, like, it's an instant, like, unfortunately it's been programmed to think, I gotta hold my bag, I'm gonna get robbed. I don't know why. I don't operate that way. It, obviously, because I don't look at people from I'm not afraid just based on their appearance or their color of their skin. But I can see why it has been, you know, embedded, because even the movies, the news, what get programmed, what gets shown is to kind of put that fear that this is bad, this is crime, or whatever the case may be. And that's just what then gets perpetuated or, you know, embedded into people's minds. So I always used to tell my friends, just take my kids to the mall, take them to the store, hold their hand, and then you'll have just a slight understanding of what it's like to be of a different, you know, choice or color in this country, even though you aren't. But the fact that they're going to assume you made a decision and chose to, you know, procreate, and you are, I mean, that's even sometimes worse from your own people. So it's mind blowing. But yeah, she experienced it. I remember when I was out with, this was a long time ago, Brooklyn's dad, years ago, at a restaurant in DC. We didn't get served. They kept, like, we walked out because and both of us are in the restaurant industry. You know how much money you would have made off of us? Well, we left because we could, it was whoever just decided we weren't worthy to be served because we were a black man and a white woman. So
Yeah, that's such deep stuff, man. I know it's true, and it gets so layered. It happens so many times to people that you can't help but be influenced by the experience, right? Because everybody's reacting to you a certain way, even when you don't feel like that way. That's
right.
it's like such a powerful way that projection helps shape our concept, our self concept, right?
Even in the restaurant industry, I remember, this was not too long ago, and the 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 way that it worked in this place is, you know, if you were as a server at the host stand and guests came in and you got dibs on that table. It really wasn't like, and it was, if you were up there and you had an open table, that was your table. So there was a girl up at the host stand. I was coming around the corner and I could see her section and she had an open table, but the couple that walked in was black. And there's a stigma that, you know, people of that, like, they don't tip, right? It's not just black people. There's a whole thing in the restaurant industry about it. So I come up to the host stand thinking, you know, because she was up there, so that was her table. That's the way it works. Oh no, you can have them. I don't have a table. I was like, but you do. But I'll take them. Shoot, I come on. And then me being me, couldn't let it sit. And she walked by me and I was like, you know, you had that table open. Why don't you just say you didn't want to take them because of what we both know? What? Like, the way she responded. And then she had to go around and save face to every single person in that restaurant. And I had her crying in the office by the time I was done with her. Yeah.
Rightly so.
I had her crying in the office, and I looked at the manager and I said, I'm going to go back to my job, or I'm going to lose it over this one here, because now she's crying. Woe is me, playing the victim because I called you out on what you blatantly just did.
The guilt card.
Like, but oh well, call a spade and hit dog hollers, honey, because you out there, like, she went to every single person trying to defend her case that I didn't know my table was clean. Girl, it's right there. You don't lie. Like, just be real about it. Like, say the real. Don't lie, because I'm gonna drag you, and I did. And
That's the Democratic racism. I like a Republican racist that'll tell you,
right. You're not
let me
gonna hide
know.
it. Exactly.
Right.
When it says,
To
"Oh,
be
I didn't
straight
want
up.
them because
Right.
they ain't gonna tip me," or whatever you believe in your mind, just based on that appearance, is so silly. But
No,
yeah,
you
that's
just
true.
got to be honest. I think it's true. We definitely had similar responses to certain groups of people in the restaurant, and you could, you said it like it was, or it wasn't a game like what your friend did there. It was like, I don't want that table. I already have two of that. So it's a weird thing because who started that one, right? Because it really is true that you wouldn't really get the same tips. It was just the reality. And the restaurant I worked in, it was in a primarily black neighborhood, so it was really fascinating how different it was. Like I remember me doing this research about it. I'm like, isn't that so weird? Like I want to get to know some of them and talk to them about why. Wonder what's happening. Is it just not a cultural thing? Like how come? Because that's where I always go with everything. I want to understand what people are thinking.
I remember this was a long time ago, and I was in DC. I was working for a restaurant, big restaurant chain, and I treat every table as they're the same. It's just always been I'm that, but that's just me. I've had who you would think would tip you fat. I've waited on high end celebrities and got stiffed, and then have gotten, like, I had these two guys who looked like they came off the construction site, and you're like, oh, but I treat them. I mean, when I tell you these dudes left me $40 tip on like a $60 bill, you don't judge a book by its cover, because you never know. You know what I mean? I used to work in nightclubs. I was the only white girl working in a nightclub, and I made the most money because I know how to talk to people. I don't care who you are. I'm going to give you the same service across the board, and that's why I did so well. They became my regulars because I'm going to take care of you. I had some of the biggest dope boys tipping me because I would take the best care of them. But then I would take the best care of any single person that came to my bar or to my table, because to me, it's just people. And like I said, I have waited on some of the biggest celebrities, and I'm like, yo, what was that? Like, you wipe your butt with more money than that's on this bill. Like, what? Where's the tip? What?
Word.
So like I said, you never know. I remember one girl they left her $1,000 as a tip. So
Not, and someone said that's economics. And I have to say, what's going on, G? I have to say that black people are racist, and against all black people too. I wouldn't call it racist, but we can be that way about our own people.
oh yeah.
Like, so, it's like I said, Kanye would call it classism. I don't know what to call it, but it is a mind state that people have. Even within our own culture. I've worked in situations where I've judged people based upon what they have, and I was wrong, and it turned out to be a whole different type of situation. So it happens. It's a mind state. It is. It's not something that we should have, or a way of life that we should be, or a way of thinking that we should be operating in. But we are guilty of doing that to our own people, and it is economics because we come from nothing, so we don't expect much from our own people sometimes either, unfortunately. And when you have that mind state, it can kind of hold you back, and you can start to judge people based upon who you are. So it's like, can we really blame people in other races when we look at our own people like that? It's like even listening to rap music and hip hop. How could you not, or they not see certain things? I understand it's where we come from, it's the environment that we in. Like if I told you my life story, you'd be like, "What the?" You'd be like, "What? What? How did that happen?" And it happened from people that look like me, nobody else, like
Mm-hmm,
somebody that looked
mm-hmm,
like me almost
mm-hmm.
killed me.
As
It
as
wasn't
as
no other reason.
Clubhouse people say, that part. Mm-hmm.
It was people that look like me that almost killed me. So, like Tupac said, I'm afraid of the same crime element that you're afraid of. At the end of the day, and economics is the only way I think that you can truly fix certain things, and,
Mhm.
and also moral values and all of those particular things as well. And people move as a culture. When you build a culture that's based upon peace and welcoming, a universal brotherhood or the state of mind and treating people how you want to be treated within the culture. Yeah, you could eliminate, you will eliminate those type of mindsets. I think for everybody, until we all get on one accord, it will always exist. Until we also take responsibility of things we do and how we do it. And like Trump was talking about, he want to send all the drug dealers to jail and do this and that. Yeah, I do understand at some point in time that smoking weed was just something recreational that was popular in the black community. I don't know. I don't know where it comes from. I do think it comes from a tribal base of people working with the land and knowing the herbs and just knowing that it's something that's medicinal, and it's something that's within the black culture. I think that's popularized. And I can't really speak about other cultures, but we see there's been I wouldn't call it issue, but something has been normalized, and people seemingly can't put it down. They do not and refuse to put it down.
You know
And
what's so weird
it is
about that? When
criminal.
I went to India, that plant was growing all around and nobody would even think to smoke it.
What?
And I remember
And
talking to
this,
the lady who grew up there. I said, that smells like marijuana. She goes, yeah, that is marijuana. I said, why is it just out there? She says, oh, nobody here does that. People don't smoke that. I'm not saying that, this is 2010. And I was like, really? I said, I guess they're finding that way, finding what that does another way, like another herb or another something or other.
mm,
But I thought it was such an interesting thing. Like you said, there's cultures that just took to certain things and said, yeah, this is good medicine. And we're going to use this medicine because it works the way we want medicine to work. And then other people might have seen the same medicine and said, no, that's not good medicine. We wouldn't use that medicine.
and demonize it. Yeah.
But let's remember too, it's not just to be smoked. Clothes,
Mhm.
fabric. I
Yeah.
mean, it can
Yes. Yeah.
it's can be. We could actually probably change the world if we actually used it
Mhm.
for what it could really be used for, right? So it's not just getting high. It has so many other properties that we I
Mhm.
think are underutilizing because of obviously they probably can't control it and make as much money as they do with the other stuff. So that's another reason why it's been so bastardized and criminalized and kept illegal, because it would actually probably be very resourceful and more financially practical, but God forbid.
Nah, yeah, for sure, for sure. I definitely think it would make an economic impact, and probably boost a culture that, like I said, that has praised it so much, which is my culture and people. Unfortunately, the way we use it, but I say all that because Trump was talking about getting rid of all the drug dealers and doing this and that. But I think and Tesla and Figueroa said this isn't as easy as just stop selling drugs or selling weed. I think it is, unfortunately. I think if I go to your house and you tell me I got to take off your shoes, unfortunately, I have to compromise and take off my shoes. Um, I do know that I was trapped into a crime element based upon my economic level and the things that I felt could free me at that particular time. So I see the other side of this is I'm gonna do what I got to do because this is what I'm given and it's the only thing I can afford to get me to or get me out of the situation I'm in. And it's an opportunity. I'm a third time. It's the opportunity. I see the opportunity, but while he's saying he's going to put death to people that's dealing drugs, don't touch it. You're going to have to compromise. Unfortunately, at this particular moment, don't touch it. It is as easy as just don't do it. We got to have those hard conversations as well, and we got to take responsibility. Like I said, it was very hard for me to think, what did Black people do to be in slavery? Was it really our fault? And like I said, when Nina said that, I was like, what do you mean take responsibility? What are you talking about? What is, how could people be held down for 500 years? When Kanye West said slavery was a choice, right? It's really a flip of a switch of taking action in a particular direction to change the outcome of future events. You can make the decision to change future events based upon the circumstances that you may be around, and maybe you do have to compromise what's taking place right now. But what are the other actions that you can do to prevent other things from spiraling?
Well,
But
I mean, partly it's to really watch how you go in and out of things, right? Because you're bringing up a lot of like power topics, you know what I mean? Like you're bringing up some of the loaded guns in the shared conversations, and all fair game, you know, big stuff shifting, of course. But like when it comes to things like why would there be slavery? You know, we have to recognize, or at least I recognize at this point, that the narrative and the stories, and I know some people lived certain things, so that's what they carry it from. But there's a lot of ways that we've been influenced by how the story's told, right? We've been influenced to get the reaction, right? Like, because that's how it gets misused for power, right? And like, when I studied Black history in college, you know, I took 3 or 4 courses in slavery and all of it. I found it to be very fascinating. And one of the things that came out of it was the question marks about some of the early history, but also that the people were stronger. They provided a certain type of like energy and ability that the other people didn't. So it was like people were being used the same way Mexicans are used in a kitchen. And forgive me, I don't mean that in a jerky way, but like you cannot get white guys to run a kitchen the way you can get the Mexican guys to work for a lot less and do your kitchen in your restaurant. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
no,
not get
people.
to work in the field and have the stamina and the resilience and the joyfulness in their heart and the willingness to serve that you might have found in an African American.
No, yeah, that's exactly what happened. That is exactly, and slavery was used in a different type of way before the use of guns, I think, came, and forced slavery was done. You have indentured servitude that happened. You had trade um, of slaves. The way that the slaves and the Indians used slaves, they didn't call them slaves. They actually called them family, and maybe also adopted them within their tribe at certain points of time as well. There was war and trade off and those type of things at that particular time, but it was never defined as slavery, and it was always used as a sense of indentured service or help. You know, even other people would give people away so they can have housing and those type of things. So it was used in a different format. But when the guns and all of those things came into play, then you ran into forced slavery. And what's crazy is I also thought about that same statement, which is crazy. This guy said, trying to back the Democrats as far as letting illegals come into the country. This is a Black guy who said, you don't even want those jobs. Why would you not want them to be here? You wouldn't even want those jobs. We should allow them to be here. I was like, dang, you sound like a slave master. Like, you sound like the same people that you don't like. You are saying that let these people come in so I can pay them lower wages than, because I don't want to do the job. It's
Well, I
like,
mean,
dang,
we're,
how
we're
easily you became a slave master. Go ahead.
no, we're slaves to a whole monopoly game, for gosh sakes. I mean, we're like consuming and feeding banks that are not our own.
Mm-hmm.
You know
Exactly.
what I mean? Like it's just it's very interesting to recognize how insidious this kind of stuff is and how you don't even see it and it's right in front of you, you know. And I feel like that's part of what this time of awakening and this deeper clarification of what's true or not true as far as what our new foundation is as we come together as one. And we can't use splitting as entertainment or ways to like keep someone else down to make ourselves feel better. Like there's no splitting. Like I'm you, you're me, we're in this together. There's been mistakes, there's been things that didn't go the way they need to. Systems are falling apart. And if we come back together to put these systems together and start these same conversations that I've been listening to, like I did all of that, like equality stuff. I did all of this stuff I did every class you could do for diversity while I was studying because I wanted so much not to be a jerk to people. And I found that if I met people in the heart and I didn't make it about the splits, we got through a lot of it. But as soon as we focused on the splits or we started to make somebody right or somebody wrong, everything went left. It wasn't even fun. We couldn't get along.
And they're using your energy. Labor isn't something that's foreign. In order to live here, in order to be on the land, to live a part of the land,
Mm-hmm.
there's required labor.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, it's
Mm-hmm.
not nothing that you can escape. It's like who you working for. Are you sovereign? Are you working for yourself? Are you?
Mm-hmm.
No one is like Kanye West said. Slavery is a choice. No one's forcing you to do anything. Like you in America, we actually kind of got free will to do what we want. Like you don't have to go to
Mm-hmm.
work tomorrow to be
Yeah, so what
to
you
be
focus
honest.
on, what you talk about, that's part of where you use your energy, right? So if we focus on this splitting and racism and what's right and what's wrong, like I think we can really not become harmonious, because it's been a conversation that's been going on. And I'm not saying we shouldn't talk about, even like with women and the wounds of women and the way we protected ourselves from men and that Lilith wound and the depth of where it comes from. Like it's got narrative, it's got a need to be integrated, but by no means do we want to focus on it and distort it, right? Because we could start another warring of the sexes when really the sexes don't want to argue over the same stupid stuff anymore, right? But there was a long run that women were not allowed to shine as bright as they might have thought they could. They stayed small to live within a patriarchal understanding. They adopted king's ways. They had wounds in a collective shadow of the feminine that they bonded over, and they undermined men's confidence with it. Like all of that garbage has to
Mhm.
be integrated and moved through, but it's of the same nature. It's like taking down your own.
There's balance. There's a king and a queen. There's balance. Everyone has a purpose, a position. Um, Donald Trump is displacing the nine, which is talks about labor, initiation, accomplishment, or disappointment in labor. The keynote for success in this card is sublimation of the emotions. The position bespeaks difficulties, but the pattern itself is not a hard one. As in case of all nines, impersonality must be developed, or there is bound to be suffering. The great obligation imposed upon spades is always latent, consciously or subconsciously, and it's further augmented by the nine. The Venus line directs them to love as an objective, but as soon as they become personally involved, their work is interfered with, obstacles to accomplishments arrive, and the inner conflict is set up that disturbs their equilibrium and wrecks their nerves. They suffer when they become unfit to serve. So these people are closing one phase of their soul evolution and are being initiated into another. None of them are underdeveloped and unaware, and it is that very awareness that disturbs them due to their emotional conflict, psychic illness often develop. They may, for a time, be incapacitated for active work. So we talked about the where Donald Trump could be, where he's at right now, displacing the nine of space a little bit. But that's also his Neptune card, which is also fulfillment, you know. Um, and with that is challenging is the King of Hearts, usually, which is brotherhood, doing the right thing, and those particular things. Kamala said she can't do nothing for all black people, but she helped people. What did she say? But she helped people. If she do something that could help black people, it help everybody or something. But so what could he possibly do on the good side? I think the one good thing that he could do to help this his cause is appointing JFK into a position to fix the water system. You know, um, as far as fulfillment, I think that's you know, I wouldn't say that's his purpose, but we have to look at what good can come out of the situation. What is his purpose there? What is his fulfillment? Whether we like it or we don't, it is what it is. And maybe he's not thinking about himself selfishly, you know, maybe he's thinking about his people, his race. But as Kamal said, if she does something to help everyone and it helps black people, it helps everybody, right? Or something along those lines. but if he fixes the water, hey, that is my biggest strife, to be honest, that I've had with the government. I mean, when I became conscious, it was based upon my aunt having cancer. And one of the first people that I asked, because I'm trying to figure out what's wrong, it was a chemical engineer who was a head of a water plant. And he tells me that they don't do anything to get rid of the chemicals that they, try to get rid of the bacteria and all the, all the um, bad stuff in the water, because it's really sewer water. Like everything you flush down the toilet is what's coming out of your sinks and showers. So I'm like, you treat the water, but how are you get rid of the chemicals? And he says we do nothing. We just dilute it. We just put more water on top of the water with the chemicals in it. You know, so him appointing JFK in that position and knowing his stance, I do think that's looking out for everyone. And that should be something that we should at least look to and see, I guess, compromise what we want selfishly for our people, and try to see how can we help these particular things that's taking place. What is he actually going to do, and what is he actually going to accomplish while he's here? Unfortunately, may not want him there, but sometimes you do have to compromise to get something done for the betterment of everyone. So I think that's something that he may do and may complete and be on a universal brotherhood or a state of mind of helping everyone and not being like selfish, like just for the power of men. But that's just my stance on his little spread at 80, I believe it was. But getting kind of late. That was a great conversation. This is the Six of Spades, the card of the awakening. So hopefully we had some great talking points that made you kind of think about some things. And the sixes transforms into the seven hearts, the card of truth. Six of clubs, six of spades. I look at those cards as truth seekers a lot of times, revealing of the light. And like I said, it's the awakening. So something has to come out of it, and pushing our thought patterns and pushing change and thinking about how do we work better as mankind in the whole. This should be inspiring, because if the Democrats was in there, we'll still be rocking to sleep and people will still be doing what they're doing. Nobody wouldn't care, unfortunately. So I'm not even mad that people are waking up and starting to realize, like, where do you really live? What are people in the United States?
Well, this was good. I am going to jump off because I got to get the little one to bed, and then didn't realize it was already 9:30. So this was a great conversation. Next week, I am doing a show in Jacksonville, so I don't know if I'll be able to be on because I'll probably be driving home or just getting home. Just depends. I'll let y'all know. But yeah, Seven of Spades week and the Seven of Spades was the Venus card for the United States this year. So, and those sevens can bring a lot of like up and down, the swing energy, that faith or fear. Slow down while you're driving this week. Pay attention. Don't be distracted in your travels. Watch that energy, because they can go to the sevens and the nines have that ability of like going to the extreme, going overboard. Get rid of, I look at this as a good, like the Six of Spades, the Seven of Spades are great because it's going to get you to that Eight of Spades of like that health and like feeling stronger. But with the Seven of Spades, you have to take an honest look at your habits and the things that you do and be more disciplined. And like, I look at it as like a natural way to cleanse the stuff that isn't good for you. If you know this isn't good, like, maybe you decide, okay, I'm not going to eat the sweets anymore. No more ice cream at night. It's just kind of like looking at your habits and like really purifying them and seeing where there can be some improvement with that Seven of Spades. Remember, it transforms to the Eight of Diamonds. So get to the money, but have faith, like that's a big part of it. So thank you all. See you later.
Gina, thank you.
See you later. Same. My car broke down on the Five of Spades week, so hopefully you all travel safe. listen to the energy. Take care of listen to your intuition and take care of your health. I've been implementing wormwood since we had our little parasite conversation.
Nice. I had a whole little I had somebody send me something to read over, and I had a little meeting with her, and I've got a shopping list, and I'm going into this full moon with that intention a little bit. But I tell you, the more I learned about it, the more I was like, oh, because there's so many parts. But I'm gonna, try to keep it basic. I told her, I said, I'm gonna take some of your information and start some ground floor work. But the whole thing she was talking about, I was like, woof. I don't think I got it in me. But obviously have it in me. It's a parasite. But but it'll be interesting. But yeah, those are good things. I like the whole habit thing because the Six of Spades did give me some awakening in that Lilith based stuff and that collective shadow of the women and working with all young girls. And I've been praying for 13 days all about sisterhood wounds and to understand some of what roots some of those splits, because whether it's through sisterhood or people of color or gender or whatever, those little fragments and splits in us and those collective shadows, we lose a lot of our life force there. So I've been really calling to bring in those things and reintegrate and accept the collective shadow, my own shadow, and then be more conscious about what I actually choose from what I know now.
Mm.
So
It's
for
growth,
me.
we're all elevating, learning, learning what other people um, need, I think, spiritually, mentally, physically, and learning our indifferences. I also know that we're all not built the same in certain ways. But how can we come together and learn each other in those particular ways and coexist, and help each other out and
Well, we
learn.
do really good job here at the card table. I tell you, we do really well. We do well with letting everybody be themselves and accepting each other like we are and learning about each other and things like that. So I agree. I think that it'll happen over time. It'll be a state of consciousness. But I think here at the card table, everybody's welcome. And we're not looking at your color or your gender. We're thinking about your card and energies and trying to keep everything fair.
Try to keep it on the energy level, but we got to
Right.
be honest. It's the great awakening. We got to be truthful. What's taking place right now? It's a lot of things out there and deception. So I appreciate being able to come here and have these conversations
Yeah, me too.
with you
Me
all.
too.
And so we'll see
Thanks for
you all
stopping.
next week. I appreciate it. And
See you next week.
welcome
I
to
can
the
be here
club.
next week, so I'll see you then.
You said you won't be here either?
I will be here. I can be
Okay.
here.
Okay.
So
All
I'll
right.
see you.
Well, all right. See you.
All right. Take care.
Thanks, J-Lo. And we'll hit the like button. That
Yeah,
does kind
thanks,
of
J-Lo, for all
help.
you do. All those notes you put out there.
Word. All right. See y'all.